Welcome to Warblock. Today I'm carrying on with something I haven't done for a while, just trying to get something for everything. So I've sort of got a video for this, etc. I've got a video for Kunduz. The one that's been sort of stalling me is Operation Swath, for a couple of reasons. If you look at the thumb, it's quite old, the old style, everything really. It looks a little different, and I've added the villages. The thing that was holding me up was two things, and I knew there was some aircraft in it, and when you look at it on Wikipedia it seems really complicated, but the amazing thing is, and so there's the aircraft, the amazing thing though is that when I actually read it through, properly, bit by bit, sort of one part at a time, it actually made a lot of sense. I mean, it starts off by saying the 57th Independent Battalion, and that's so what's, and I couldn't find it. Oh, where's that? I thought, there it is, there. And I'm still not quite sure what it does. It just sort of says it's down there. It says it marches towards Mala Perotovica, which is actually there, which is a bit odd because maybe not all this stuff should be where it is. Maybe I should try and defend it with something. Anyway, well, it is hills. But when you actually read it all through, it pretty much makes a lot of sense. It's sort of, after a while it gets a bit complex. It says the ZNG, and I'm not sure who the ZNG are. I think it must be these guys. The ZNG advance along the Virotivica Grubisno Polje road. Well, I don't know where that is, but I'm assuming it's this road here, so they must come down here, but then they start pushing up this way. So I think the gameplay on this is that they sort of come down here and then push up this way, with this unit presumably coming up here like that, and then these units sort of fall back, putting up a stoic resistance. The toe forces put up a strong resistance, especially near Lonkarika, which is there, but they get pushed back. The actual sort of timeline, so to speak, it starts off with saying that they start off with half-hour barrage with these guys, and then these units sort of do what they do, but these units sort of are pretty big. I mean, that's a large unit, and that sort of suddenly comes in from somewhere. I'm not sure where though, or why. Let me just pause now, so you may have another little read. No, I'm correct. I mean, it sort of states that it's the brigade, and that's why I've got that, but presumably they don't really have an enormous brigade. I think upon reflection it'd probably be just a smaller unit. Now, one of the interesting things about this, it's harking back to a time when, if you look at the numbers, when, well, maybe that's a weak company, but certainly wouldn't do a battalion that size anymore. These battalions worth two. I mean, it's just silly. But anyway, I'm only really looking to do a video, just to add the video to it. But the thing that startled me, and obviously I haven't really got massively on top of it, because I've just sort of thought, oh, well, I want to do something and I want to sort of work backwards. But the thing is, when I actually started to read it, it did actually make sense. It sort of, I thought, oh, maybe I just got the wrong sort of end of this. But there's quite a few other. There's a couple of follow-up operations, and that makes the Wikipedia page seem a bit longer. And I might do those. There's a Battle of Rajasthaji Bundini and Operation Papak 91. So I'll probably do both of those if I can figure it out. It's one of these battles, these sort of Croatian, Yugoslav scenarios. They always leave me baffled because I can never remember who's on whose side. I can't even remember what countries they are. It's really convoluted. But anyway, I mean, it has been an interesting one of mine, just because it was sort of an earlier game, and it was quite specific, But anyway, it does say that this never really had a chance at all. So let's just and one other thing, we haven't got it here, but I've got a new map tile. Let me just maybe just quickly whiz into that, called mountain peaks, and essentially you've got mountains and then mountain peaks. So mountains are now a bit downgraded. They stay the same in all effects and for every reason, but they're now sort of downgraded in the interpretation of them to be essentially anything that's sort of very, very hilly, mountainous, without any vegetation, so to speak. So it could be sort of just very, very sort of aggressive hills, whereas these mountain peaks are now what I would certainly consider for the Himalaya areas, and I've added them to the Indian scenario with the Himalayas and only a couple of here and there. I haven't put these sort of like bands of the mountain peaks in yet, because I'm still really sort of testing it, but they're basically uncrossable. Nothing can go across them. Air can. You get 5 times defence as opposed to 4. I was going to give it 6, but I think 5's pretty good. But you can put special forces through it. You can put irregular units through it, and you put mountain infantry through it. If you've got irregular, it's got 6 movement. Its movement will end. And you can also put HQ movements and command movements, command units. And smugglers. Okay, well that's that. So anyway, there's no mountain peaks in here, I don't think. So these are sort of more just aggressive hills. I mean, I don't want to say they're just aggressive hills. I mean, they are proper sort of ranges and mountains. They're proper. But you could probably think that one of the problems I had with interpreting mountains was that it's quite clear that there's varying degrees of mountains, and some of them are just uncrossable. I mean, just because you can mountain climb over them, you wouldn't be able to take anything over there, especially vehicles or anything. Whereas a lot of the mountain ranges in, say, Afghanistan do actually have enough paths through them to actually make them quite sort of traversable, one way or another. I mean, you might have to sort of spend a lot of time moving around one massive peak, but there'll probably be an established path or route, between them. Whereas in the Himalayas, it's the height of them, I think, that gets, once they're snowbound or potentially snowbound and sheer faces, and there's just nothing happening there. So I'm trying to distinguish with that. I'm also trying to actually, taking it forward, add a few more terrain types without it getting too complex, and possibly theming the terrain types. And the other thing that I did was update the movement turn, so we should see that this is turn 1, and then when the other player has their turn, it will be turn 1, and then when you come back it will be turn 2, not turn 1 still. It took me ages to sort that out, and I still don't know why it was doing that, and I'm fearful that it might have some knock-on effects with other parts of the way the turn's interpreted, but it should be okay, we'll see. So anyway, the Croatian Army are first, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this unit to come through Grubisno Polje first. They also use some artillery. It's 30 minutes of artillery first. This is interesting. Because I don't think he's actually flagged up as artillery. I think this was before I actually had artillery units. So let me just go and check the scenario base on that. Okay, I've sorted that out. Essentially, it's such an old game that artillery rules weren't in play then. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start that again. So what you should see is now, well, let's just refresh that. Yeah, it has been updated. Yeah, look, it's got a 4. Come on. Well, you can see it's updated. Oh well, won't worry about that too much. So anyway, everything is still the same as before, but we're going to start off with our artillery barrage now. And look, it works because we've got the artillery sort of features working. So it's interesting actually that I have to sort of do that, and there are a few other things that sort of didn't work because it's an older sort of map base, not map base, but sort of database. I keep adding things, you know, like leaders and artillery ranges, and they weren't in there before. So anyway, we've just done some damage on that. We'll do the same thing because I want to sort of, I just don't want to sort of do that. I want to think, because possibly I could move some of these units down here to sort of block that. Perhaps they would sort of take this place here and wait for the forces to come before they start moving up here. I don't know. So that's the artillery, but we're going to move. Now the thing is, do we want to move straight through these mountains? Probably not. Yeah, there's another there's another blast from the past. When I first set up a lot of these games, what actually happened was you can see he's got no movement. So I'm going to actually start this again. I'm going to go in because there's only a handful of units, so I'm going to actually update that. It's one of the reasons that I sort of do the videos to sort of spot, you know, things like that. But it's not really a big problem. But you know, if I go through the turn, then he'll have his movement. But he's configured at the beginning of the game to have no movement. He's got 0 movement, so he can't move. So I'm just going to update that. Well, I sorted that. And it's a good job as well because I spotted that this artillery unit has had the same problem. So again, just going to start again. There's nothing wrong with the game itself. It's just it's a bit of an old one, and so we've got these sort of things. Let me just check the image. Refresh that. Right click doesn't seem to be working. There you go, look. He hasn't updated though, has he? Look. He doesn't want to update. Okay, so we're going to play, so we haven't really sort of done anything odd yet. So again, we're going to move the artillery, we're going to fire the artillery on this unit here. No effect, so that works. And we're going to try and move into the mountains, yep. Okay, and might as well take this mountain hex here. Oh, we can't move in there because we're mechanised, look at that. It's amazing how the game actually works. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, it's interesting how the rules sort of dictate all the terrain, and all the rules dictate sort of the pace of the strategy. I can't remember how it worked before, but I'm pretty sure. And there was a stage where all hexes had the same movement rate. They were all sort of like one, or it was quite different. It was very different. You can see that from the thumbnail. I mean, it's always worked, but it sort of worked differently. I mean, for example, the artillery just you worked like normal things. It was quite strange. You had to sort of not use it really in an offensive capability because it, for example, some of these artillery units have 8, and it's supposed to be done from a range and it has a different effect, but you could use them like tanks. It wasn't how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to sort of play it properly and not use them as tanks, but you could do that, and we can't do that anymore. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, for example, this 5. In fact, that shouldn't be like that at all. It shouldn't have a 5. I'm going to change that now. It shouldn't have a 5 defence. Basically, the defensive factor is, and he should only have a 1 defence. I'm going to change both of these. 1 minute. Okay. So one more time, I'm going to start again, just because these changes happen on the base map. So when I start the game, it reloads a base map. That Cuba one's going to be a difficult one as well. It's a bit odd. Maybe I should do this before I do the video, but anyway. I have changed that, but it still doesn't want to look like it's working. Let me just see if I can trick it into so you see that it's got it there. I don't know why it won't do that, but anyway, it's interesting how the strategy and the movement becomes embedded in sort of the way of doing things. So anyway, click the next turn, and hopefully it should be the SAO turn 1, which it is. Okay, so I didn't move him far enough, did I? Okay. Well, he's definitely going to want to go down here, and we're going to want to move down here. Let's fire our artillery at these units here. 0.05. Fantastic. Okay. So retreating, just sort of as they did, really. Should now go to turn 2 for the first player. Fingers crossed. Croatian Army turn 2, it works. When I don't hold your breath, I did this before, and the next turn it went to sort of back to turn 1 for the next player, and then to turn 3. Oh, it's just crazy. It went 1, 1, 3. It was just all over the place. I think I solved it. I've been meaning to do that for years now, actually. Right. We didn't move these as far as we could, so let's just go and take this village. Let's keep this artillery on the move. But it's got no more movement. Zunska village is also an objective. Okay, well, we can certainly pummel these guys. I wonder what the odds will actually be. I mean, he's 2. Infantry versus mechanized, they're going to be reduced, but he's in hills, so that'll be times 3, I think, in hills. So he'll be worth 6. So in theory, they're 2 to 1. They could possibly be a 1 to 1 or a 2 to 1. Let's see. 3 to 1 DE. Now that's my DE thing kicking into effect now. He got 3 depressions, but he wasn't destroyed, and that was the thing that was really sort of, because to destroy that unit. I think when you're playing games that are more, and this is very much more sort of balanced on reality, the real history, it just doesn't make sense for them to be eliminated immediately. And I'm glad I put that rule in there, because it makes this sort of, well, we can tell that this whatever they are, the 28th Partisan Division, well, a company from the 28th Partisan Division, when they came into first contact with the 127th Infantry Brigade, they were totally pushed back, totally knocked out. But they're still fighting force. Presumably their front lines were heavily decimated, and I just think that makes more sense. That a unit like that, a historical unit, can still be on the board. And it really does have, because once that first punch is out of the way, I mean, the next one, if he gets there, will put him up to Depression 6, which means a 10% chance of him routing anyway, plus the 3 on there means there'd be a 40% chance of him being eliminated as per normal. So, it's really only really kicks in on that first hit, which is what I really wanted to do, but it also means that a much bigger unit, for example this one, it would have so much more resilience against being eliminated, not just on the first hit, but on the second and the third, because it would be factors of 4, so he would have a -4 on everything, where he doesn't have anything. So, he'd be at -30 on the first hit. On the second one, he'd be at 0% chance. So he would automatically have 2 hits. It's so big. So I really like the way that's going to sort of pan out, I think. We moved him, didn't we? He's got a lot more movement, but I don't really want to start pushing him, I don't think. Because he's going to be heavily defended in the hills there. We need to get this artillery into place. Push him into there. So hopefully it should be the other player's turn too. Yep. Okay. And they're definitely going to run away. The good thing about being beaten once is at least he can move away and keep the distance. They're not going to catch up with him now. Definitely want to just keep falling back here and here. Okay. And it should be turn 3 now. Yeah, I think it looks as though it's working. .3 damage, that was nice. We'll leave those there until we're in a position to start moving that way with a bit more support. This is the real pounder here. Well, let's push him into the mountains there. Okay, so we've managed to get down here to the villages where we can at least form some sort of defence. Ha! But no movement. But we've got some artillery. .6, it's still on 3. I'm not pushing it as readily because I want to sort of try and keep this sort of semi-historic. So they've now taken that village, which frees them up now. So let's try and keep away from them. Oh, he moved, didn't he? Okay. Right, we're going to start moving south. Let's move the artillery this way. That should give them move and fire. It's interesting the way this is sort of working out, I think, from a historic perspective, because I get the sort of sense that they're sort of, these are quite smallish forces, could probably bounce these off, they could face each other off, play the cat and mouse, but this is a real large force that can do the business. I think that my memory from when I played it the first time round was when things were destroyed a lot easier, and wherever this went, the units just vanished before. Although there was a time, there's some quite interesting games actually, where units would never get deleted, never get eliminated. You had a DR, and that was it. There was no DE, and there was no. Well, there was a DE, but what there wasn't, and that was what was funny. What there wasn't was there was no depressions. So as you beat units, they didn't actually get depressed, and that didn't have any effect. So what would happen is units would go down in their value, in their strength, but not. I can't remember how it worked actually. There was no morale check or something. But basically, that two units could hit each other, and they could just get so weak on both sides because they were both so weak. If both units were down to sort of like 0.001, they would still hit each other at 1-to-1. And then it was sort of knocking each other around the map and just go around in circles. You get a DR and then you come back and hit the other player and they get a DR against them eventually. And some of these were really funny. But that's going back a long way. I mean, it's not like that is now. So anyway, whose turn is it? Croatians. Okay. He's moved. He's still trying to take that village. The artillery will fire 1.1. That's going to prove devastating in the long run. So I only moved there to get out of the reach of him, but I've sort of put myself in a worse position really. Because now I'm going to have to try and fight my way back this way. We do have some air support coming in soon. I'm going to leave him there to recover. He should be able to recover 2 depression points. That's that. I think I know sort of. Oh, I don't know. We'll see how that works. Okay. I don't think they can really attack, although they are depressed. They're going to sit there. What's the still a long way, but we can do that. Let's see what we can do. So they're going to be worth about 1, and we're going to be, but they're to 3, and we're going to be worth about 4. So it'll be a 1 to 1. Let's do an attrition. See what that comes up with. So that would be in a 2 to 1. We do still did some damage on that, which is all gonna count, because they're now at sort of 1% chance of routing anyway. Okay, so we've now got some air support. Effect. Well, I could go there, but then he would just be able to come out. So I'm going to go here, but that should keep me in a zone of control, so I can't actually get there. But we'll use this pause to at least try and hit this with some artillery. If we could somehow get rid of that unit, 1.4, that was good. If we could somehow get rid of it, it would actually make the game a very different kettle of fish. He's down to 2, so we'll leave him there for another turn. So he's automatically just captured that. Could have done with. He's going to now have to be out there for another 2 turns. But we can certainly pummel these guys, and we're going to have a much better factor now. Slowly move these down the road. We might be able to move them into there and still have some movement. Yep. So let's try and hurt these people a little bit more. .8, and let's attack them with these 2 units. This could be decisive. Yes, they routed. So that's changed. That's sort of, a lot of work has gone into routing that unit, and I think that reflects how it should work. I mean, not necessarily in all cases, but I mean, it shouldn't always be that hard. But you know, if they had actually, and I think they were, when these are the ones that were initially routed, you know, if they'd just done it on the first go, you know, the effect that it has, that huge unbalancing now, because now all of a sudden, you know, instead of the sort of the balance, you know, if these were sort of shapes, instead of the balance sort of being like that with a sort of, you know, a centrum there, the balance has suddenly become like this, with no sort of power over here. These units are no longer in any way required to sort of, you know, move slowly along this road. They can now just sweep majestically up here, which is going to now force them to sort of actually start moving down here and moving back. You know, that's really made a difference, and I think the subtleties of one DE like that in a game should be as significant or weighted as that was. You know, I see a lot of the games where they just go around and something gets eliminated and they don't really know the implications of it. You know, in a larger game, the balance is, you know, it's not as relevant. But you know, if you go through a mincemeat machine, and you've got to do a lot of it to affect the balance. You know, I mean that can happen. But in this game, I think you know, I mean, that is sort of will and has swayed things. Anyway, next turn. So let's see whether we can do some damage now. We've got 2 units in there. We've lost our unit. Let's see whether we can get them to lose their unit. So he's recovered. We've got 1 more artillery round, I think. Oh, look at that, that was nice. 2.8, 2.6. But we're going to have to move them now. So we've only got 3 units to play with now. He's still up there doing that. Now he's only got a 1 defence. Let's try some artillery on it. No effect. And let's see what happens if we attack it. Huh. 1 to 1. Still seems. Oh, he had 2 defence because he's in hills, which seems to have doubled him. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, it seems to be doubled. Yeah, he's definitely got a 1 defence. Okay. That was a bit impetuous. I'm just a bit tired, really. I thought that would maybe be a little bit more. Yeah, I should have thought that through. Clearly, it was just going to be a 1-to-1, wasn't it? It's a pain he's still up there. Should have thought of that. Okay, well, so another round on this, and that's it. 0.3. Well, Wikipedia article says they knew they stood no chance, so we're moving them away now. He's going to sit there for 2 turns to regroup. He can now come out. Okay, well, we've not got any more air power. He's going to have recovered as well as he can, so he's now on 1. So we might as well bring him down. Might be able to get 2. Nope. Okay, well that will pin them. We'll leave him 1 more turn there. Let's try some attrition. He's recovered, so 0.5. Well, 0.5 is better than nothing. Okay. Well, they've got the choice now to either hold there, which isn't a bad position, or to move back and try and get into these mountains before the inevitable, before these guys come along. Because if these guys come along, they could outflank them and maybe block that road. So you're going to really have a difficult time holding there, potentially. Let's see whether we can use some of this artillery here. No effect. Okay, well we can take this objective and potentially go here. And here, and still have a little bit of movement, and see, that was dangerous. Oh, let's go for the artillery first. They might, maybe they should have moved earlier, sooner, or they didn't take a big pounding there, but this 2-to-1 DR. Well, two of them got into the mountain, but this one didn't, and that might mean that he's stuck outside of the mountains, because unless he can get onto that road, they've not got any movement. He's got a little bit of movement, but it's not enough, and he's got no movement. Interesting. Well, they can't move there, so they have to come here. 2.5, 5.6. Oh, the stoic defence was outside of Long Carica. Now, do they hold off there? They might as well hold there. You need him to retreat into here if he doesn't get eliminated. So the thing is, if these move into there, they get a better defence, but that would force his retreat, if he does, into there. At the moment his retreat is either there or there, and there were 3 of them in there, and 2 of them retreated there and 1 of them retreated there. So he doesn't really want to move there, because ideally we want to eliminate him, but if he retreats we want at least the chance for him to retreat there. Let's see where he does retreat. Let's just move him first, push him here. Might as well keep our artillery onto these units, because they're the ones that are at the end of the day going to be the trouble, the difficult ones. And let's see what the odds are against this artillery unit. 7-to-1, and he retreats back in there. But he's got movement this time, and you're not getting back in there. So that artillery is basically going to have to make its own choices now. Well, they're going to hold. They could move further back and get the defence of the village. I think we might as well. But let's make sure we're moving at the same rate. Not. That was a pain. Okay, and he's going to try and move away. Let's see. Ooh, let's fire some artillery first. No effect. Let's see what this does. An exchange, that was expensive, because he's now getting knackered. We really need to take this artillery out, or at least to deal with it. I'm going to leave him there. Okay, so we can only move one at a time. This artillery could be a real game changer. No effect. Now that's taken. Let's send these guys after the artillery. That's the second time he's had an attack or retreat result. He's really not very good. Nearly up to an hour. I thought, oh, this would be a nice quick game. It's really riveting, actually. I'm finding it really exciting. It's something that really sort of makes you feel that you know there's a competitive element to it. I'm really not sure whether or not it's just me not playing very well, or whether or not it is. You know, you could sort of say, well, you know, they can do really well. I mean, once you get up to this road, you can really get a sense their defences are a lot stronger. That they could put that you know, their defence in Lukanyak here, and if they got there faster and not tried to sort of defend around Mala Perotovica, you know, could they do it? And again, it's one of those games where if you win by delaying a certain amount, but you know, it's really sort of quite interesting. I mean, the fact that it's taken 48 minutes now so far is indicative of that. So time just flies by. I thought it would only be a 15-minute game. You know, I thought, oh, once I get this big unit into play, I would just destroy everything. And it's really interesting as well, because you're playing a big unit that has the capability, but it's not massive. But these are more supporting units. They don't have that sort of sledgehammer attack, but they can still sort of nudge and edge and block, you know, units from moving in certain areas. I'm a bit disappointed with the number of ARs I've got. That should never happen. Okay, well, this could be a problem now. Because if they keep attacking that unit with 2.5s, 8.1, if they lose that unit, right, artillery. .8. Pushing you up to 6.3. So one of these are all on. Even this big unit is at the edge of it. This is it. I mean, this final battle. If they don't win this, and look, he's got to go for it. He's got to. Another exchange. Well, that's pushed him up to 7.3, but that might not be enough. They're putting up this brave defence around Lonkanaika. They can even counter-attack. Look at this. This is the one. If they could do it here. The last shell. Press the button. Oh, no effect. The suspense is endless. Oh, look at that. But if he's at 8%, 80%, he's at 3. He's still tough there in the mountains. I couldn't come out here with that in an attack, so that's the end of that. Right. No mercy. They had their chance. 2.5, knocking up to 9.8, and then the coup de grace. Yeah. About time. It was just an artillery unit. Okay. If that was so on the edge. If that big unit had gone, then they wouldn't have been able to move further. Well, they're just going to sit there and hold. We can't get in that way, but if he goes this way, you can go along the road. Look how that actually works. It's quite good. It's 52 minutes. I guess I can do another turn. And they're just going to hold. So we can move forward to move this way and this way. These guys need to stay on the road. The artillery is the one that's going to do it, just peppering them up. They're just going to sit there. If they're over 5, 2.3, 5, well, they're not both over 5, so one more turn. Well, artillery, they can hold one attack, and their main attack is going to go in. Attack and retreat. I think I'm going to call it a day there. It's another case of when I'm playing, trying to do a recording at the same time. You know, I can't sort of, well, I guess I could, but I'm really not likely to. But it's quite difficult to sort of stop. But I think, you know, and I probably made a few mistakes there. I should have thought about the maths on that and just sat there and used the artillery until I got to such a state that we could have done that. You know, destroying the artillery units is key to this game. This is actually a far more exciting game than I thought it would be. I thought this would just be a drudge. I thought I wouldn't understand it because it looked a bit odd, and I looked at the Wikipedia and I thought, oh god, you know, I'll just be making games and making no sense. But I get a real, I don't know how it really went, but I get a real sense that, you know, there's a weighting to these units. And, you know, when that unit was lost outside there at Bilogora, you know, there was a real sense that something happened. And, you know, I think this is a game that has a lot of replayability. I mean, it might not be sort of the Western Front or the most exciting thing, but, you know, I mean, if you played it a few times, you know, I mean, it takes an hour to play. You could sort of say, well, you know, on this game we kept our defence in Mala, Territorial, and this is, you know, the best way to make this defence, you know, not even bother with these villages, or, you know, I'm pretty sure that you could play it 10 times and come up with, you know, a range, maybe 3 or 4 different sort of outcomes that it could possibly be, you know, and a couple of different strategies, the potential, the variance of how it could happen. You know, maybe you can destroy all these units before they even get to the mountains, or maybe you can retreat directly into the mountains. Maybe you could retreat the foot units this way. So I'm trying to be quick now, so I've only got a few minutes. Don't want to get more than an hour on. But when I started like that, I could have retreated more like this, like that, and then with my foot units come down this way, or somehow, instead of sort of retreating like that, which is what I did. Really interesting. I've a lot of scope for replayability, I think, and possibly some scope for rejigging the units and the strength factors, etc. What I'm sort of tentatively thinking is adding a couple of units, but there's no reason for that. But some of these units in the battalions might be being able to operate as 2 companies, for example. But and the 2-2s, there could be 3 3s at least, or 4 4s, or 4 4s, or something like that. But anyway, I'm not going to take my narrative any further, because 56 minutes. I really want to get this onto YouTube without it sort of saying your videos are more than an hour long, because there's no way I'll ever edit a video. So I hope you enjoy that. If you want to play this, you think, oh god, it's finally sorted out, I really want to play this game, it looks so exciting, then sign up and give it a whirl. I'll speak to you later. Cheerio.